Hey there, I know you're on a journey from grief to growth, just like I am, and you may be looking for tools to help you live a more soul aligned life. Well, head over to my Grief to Growth store. It's your one stop shop for inspiration, for healing, and for transformation. Inside there, you're going to find some free resources to help you get started. You'll find guided meditations to calm your mind and reconnect with your spirit. You'll find signed copies of my book, Gems of Healing. You'll find my brand new Oracle deck to help you tap into daily divine guidance. And there's some powerful mini courses designed to fit in your busy life and move you forward one gentle step at a time. So whether you're deep in grief, seeking spiritual growth, or just ready for a reset, there's something waiting for you right now. Just go to grieftogrowth.com/store, grief2growth.com/store, and start exploring. Close your eyes and imagine. What if the things in life that cause us the greatest pain, the things that bring us grief, are challenges? Challenges designed to help us grow, to ultimately become what we were always meant to be. We feel like we've been buried, but what if, like a seed, we've been planted? And having been planted, we grow to become a mighty tree. Now, open your eyes. Open your eyes to this way of viewing life. Come with me as we explore your true, infinite, eternal nature. This is Grief to Growth, and I am your host, Brian Smith. Hey there, welcome to Grief to Growth. I'm Brian Smith, and if you're new here, this show is about the question that grief forces us to ask. Not just how do we survive loss, but who are we really? What happens when someone passes? And what if the separation we feel isn't the whole story? I bring on guests who have explored the edges of what we think is possible, and what comes back from those edges tends to change everything. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a warning before we get started. This episode is probably going to step on some toes. We're going to talk, maybe it's going to step on a lot of toes, actually. We're going to touch on religion, because religion, I believe, shapes our deepest moral convictions. And we're going to touch on politics, because politics is how those convictions become public policy. Now, I want to say very upfront, I'm not here to bash any particular religion or any religion at all. I'm not here to bash any particular political party. But I am going to keep it real with you today. So if you've been listening to this show for any length of time, you know I don't do comfortable when comfortable means being dishonest. I'm also going to be transparent with you about this. I recently wrote an article about how no one is coming to save us. And I kind of believe that. I'm skeptical about narratives of sudden massive shifts that rescue humanity from the outside. And we'll talk about why I feel that way. But I am open. I've been wrong before. And I think the honest thing is to sit in that tension rather than pretend it isn't there. So with all that being said, I want to welcome to Grief to Growth our guest today. Her name is Rachel Corpus. And Rachel is someone I describe as a bridge between the seen and the unseen, between what we call the physical world and the vast reality that holds it. She's a channel, she's a medium, she's a teacher, and as she'll tell you herself, an angel in a human body. That's not a metaphor for her, it's the lived truth of who she is. Rachel has been psychic since childhood. She had her first near-death experience at the age of 4, and she spent her life deepening her capacity to serve as a conscious channel, communicate with angels, ascended masters, loved ones on the other side, and high vibrational extraterrestrial beings. She hosts the podcast Angel Talk, and she's been on this show before. So if you want to look it up and listen to her full story, it's episode 431. Today, she reached out with a message to me that she felt urgent about sharing, something that she says she received from the angelic realm about what's coming for humanity. Now, I also want to tell you this. Rachel is not the only one saying things like this. Daryl Anka, channeling the entity Bashar, has been delivering similar messages. He talks about 2026 being the year of disclosure and 2027 being the year of contact. Many voices across the spiritual world are pointing in the same direction right now. And that convergence I believe, is worth taking seriously, even if, like me, you're bringing some healthy skepticism to the table. So if you've ever sensed that reality is bigger than what you've been told, and if you're willing to sit with the discomfort of not knowing what's true, this episode is for you. If you want to continue this conversation after the episode, I'd love to have you join me on Substack. So head over to grieftogrowth.substack.com. You'll find an article about today's discussion where you can comment and connect with me and with other listeners. And with that, I want to welcome back Rachel Corpus.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, Rachel. That was a really long introduction, but I wanted to just kind of put the cards on the table for what we're going to be talking about today. I'm really excited about doing this episode with you.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you reached out to me and some others. You sent an email out and said you had a message that you wanted to share. So maybe we can start by just giving me a brief overview of what that is.
All right. Thank you. Well, let me say that this message has been a long time coming. As an angel incarnate, my job is to be a messenger. I share messages. This message is one that I've been receiving my whole life, and it's come in bits and pieces and has slowly been coming together to a succinct message. And I've been waiting for my guides, my angels, and God to tell me when it's been time to speak this message out loud.
Hmm.
Now's the time. And this message overall is one about all of us moving into the awareness that we are not separate from source. When I say source, I'm using that term for God.
Hmm.
And I'm talking about a God that is not a religious God that is bound to rules and regulations. I'm talking about the source that is a source that's hard to describe, pure love.
Hmm.
Now, let's get into the details of this message. So, when we hear people talk about the disclosure coming up, we're already sensing that. We're already hearing that.
Hmm.
Leaks coming through government officials, things like that. In our very near future, literally this summer, there's going to be a moment in time where all of us, because we're all made of vibration, we have vibration within us, just like when you plug something in, it's an electric force. We are made of that as well. Well, our vibration can be turned up and down at will, can be used as biowarfare, has been already. If you look in the news, there are some protests where there's been sound used to
Hmm.
make people fall down, move back. Think of that idea. There is let's call it the world government, okay? The world government is planning to turn all of our frequencies up. And when our frequency is up, our consciousness, our knowing is turned up. The plan is when our consciousness is turned up, we will all of a sudden know things that have been hidden from us before. The things that we'll know are things like we will be aware that we are living in a hologram. People have been talking about this here and there. Are we in a simulation? Is this a matrix? Indeed, yes. But what we will know is that it's not some sweaty mythological teenager somewhere playing us like a game board.
Yeah.
No, indeed, we are creating this collectively as a consciousness, and that we have control here to continue to build it with God. It's not a game board. We will also be able to realize that the fourth dimension, which is the spirit dimension, we all have the ability to see that dimension, and that angels, demons, anything in spirit form, including extraterrestrials who walk amongst us and angels who walk amongst us, who have been shifted into other costumes. Let me say it this way. Their vibration is so high that they have changed their form to look human. They won't do that anymore because our vibration will be so high, they don't need to do that. We can see them in real form.
Hmm.
Loved ones who have passed, who are still walking amongst us, we'll be able to see them and communicate with them. We will be able to be aware of our other lifetimes that we used to call our past lifetimes. Because, my friend, if one believes in reincarnation, and not everybody does, then that's okay.
Hmm.
Why are we not remembering our other lifetimes? Wouldn't it be helpful if we remembered all of that experience coming into this one instead of this amnesia effect?
Hmm.
We're supposed to. So all of that memory will come back. Well, all of those things being disclosed gently, little by little, could be very helpful. But the world government is wanting to turn that vibration up all at once as a weapon, thinking that as a human population, it's going to freak us out so much that the next step will be it will solidify us in fear. And we will be so scared that we will fall down. We will lose our power because what's happening now is we are all, as a population, the majority, so we are feeling, oh, there's more to this place than what we thought. We know something. Tell us more. And we are pushing, pushing, pushing for more information because there's this divine spark in us that knows that we are more than what we've been told, not in an egotistical way, but in a godly way.
Mm-hmm.
And that we are finding our way back to source. And that is a power within us that is not aggressive, it is loving and assertive. And if we remember our true identity, we can't be controlled anymore by the systems that have been put in place to control us. Those systems were originally put in place by all of us to help, but they have been corrupted and now they control us.
Yeah.
So back to it. When this vibration is turned up, all of a sudden, the hope is we will all be so scared that we can be controlled like cattle. And then the next thing is they will project something in the sky. Let's say you're in the Midwest like me. And so typically many people here are Christians. So they may put Jesus in the sky. Okay, and now you're all broken. Here's who you follow. They may even put something extraterrestrial in the sky. We've been talking to you about extraterrestrials coming to help. Well, here they are. And that could either look helpful or scary. We don't know.
Right.
But the point is, they will not let us have a moment or moments to remember everything we need is within us already. They're going to give us an external thing to go to or to be scared of so that we will go back to the structures that were in place before that we felt we needed so much. What the angels show me is that what will actually happen is when our vibration is turned up and we all of a sudden have all this awareness of who we are, what we know, we will indeed be shocked, but we will not be struck down. The opposite will happen. We will be empowered with knowledge. And if we can tell each other and remind each other, okay, what's in the sky is not what we need. What we need, what we have is within us. Go home. Go home to your people. Wait, even though we may experience power outages, 3 days of darkness. All of that will happen. And people will be scared and they will spiral because that's what fear does. If we can stay true to the message that God is within us and that we are not truly separate, we'll get through this and our new way will begin. That's what I'm here to tell you.
Yeah. Thank you, Rachel. Here's the thing that really resonates with me. We had a little conversation about this earlier. I'm kind of a skeptic. I am not a conspiracy theory kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say, I can't deny, people you talk about the world government. People might be saying, well, there is no world government. We all have individual governments, but we see the corruption already. We're starting to see that the veneer is falling off. We see the collusion. We see that really it's people with money that are running things. It's not, we even though we think we live in a democracy, we don't get our way. We see in religions, and I'll name mine in particular, in Christianity, I believe Jesus' message has been corrupted to keep us from knowing who we are. Jesus called us gods. To the message is that you're a sinner, that you're born broken, that you need someone else to fix you. Whether in many cases that's the church, right? So
Yes.
everything you're saying there really resonates with me. And again, you're not the only one delivering this message. I want to let people know I'm hearing this from other sources. So to me, that's corroboration of something very similar. So that's where I say, yeah, this makes a lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm. I I'm thankful to hear that from you. And I also would like to say to you and the people joining us that I'm a rule follower. I'm not a conspiracy theorist either. My background is I was raised in the church. I went into teaching. I'm a certified teacher. I went to seminary. I'm a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And I was raised that, you follow your authority figures, you trust them. If there's something going wrong, you find someone to help you and you believe them. That's in my heart. That's in my blood. So I trusted the government for a very long time. And
Yeah.
I do trust the government. I do. I trust the individuals in the government, but as a whole, I now know through the work that I do and through the visions I have and the daily prayer and meditation that I go into,
Mm-hmm.
there's another side of the government. We don't have to throw the government out with the baby with the bathwater. We don't
Mm-hmm.
have to do that. But we can also be smart and know that there is duality in everything and that the government is not bad. But the government within that, there is another population working. And so, in every government, whether we're looking at the government of one country, the other country, or a world government, we're always going to have a pushback of we're on Earth. We came here to Earth to experience the light and the dark so our souls could have texture.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is our job and our privilege to be able to hold on to both, to navigate both. So it is wise for us, I believe, to not be naive and think that there's only good guys in an organization. We
Yeah.
don't have to go into conspiracies about it, but we can listen to the conspiracy theorists, listen to it, and say, I wonder if there's truth in there.
Yeah. And like I said, that's where I am now. And I grew up in the church like you did. I was my grandfather was the pastor. I've read the entire Bible. So
Yes,
that's where I'm coming from. And I've always been a believer. Well, it's funny because I argue with people about like they say, well, government is corrupt. I'm like, no, government is necessary. For us to
yes,
live in civilization, we have to have government. Now, the government that we have is that working as well as it should. And again, I just looking at reality, looking at what's going on, looking at, the fact that we don't have universal health care, the fact that so many people are starving, the fact that we still blow up
right,
children, all those things.
right.
It's undeniable. You can't say that it's working well.
Right. It's not. It's one of the systems that is breaking, and that's where we are in our evolution. We came here, all of us are here at this time because we all signed up as souls to come here at a time when all of those systems that maybe at one time we put in place to work for us, as you said,
Hmm.
are no longer doing that. So we're here as those systems break apart. But as they're breaking apart, if you look deeper, there's something growing in its place. And we can't ignore that either. So we can't always see that, but there is something growing in its place. And I don't want to be a Pollyanna here
Hmm.
because I'm not denying all of the hardship that's happening. But we do have things that are regrowing in place. And I don't believe, this is me personally, I'm not channeling here. I don't believe that there's some population swooping in to save us. I don't believe that because that's not what, as a population of Earth, we didn't write that in.
Hmm.
We wrote in, we're here to figure it out together. Now, the other beings around us, the angels, the extraterrestrials, there are helpers. But if they were going to save us, they would have done it already.
Yeah.
There have been plenty of times, first of all. Second of all, that's not in our mission statement as humans. We're here to figure this out. We're here to give each other grace, to give each other patience, and to also have remorse and work through our difficulties, our mistakes. So those helpers that some people think that are going to come in and magic wand us into another dimension, I have not heard that from them.
Mm.
I've heard that they are waiting to come in at the right time to help us,
Mm.
but not to save us.
Yeah, that resonates with me. And again, going back to our mutual background, again, I was growing up and I kept hearing, Jesus is going to come back any minute. He's going to come from the sky. and there's going to be an apocalypse. And it's really interesting because the word apocalypse means uncovering.
Ah,
The book of Revelation is not Revelations, by the way, it's Revelation, but it's a revealing, it's an uncovering. And that's what I see, I feel like is happening. And you talked earlier about us living in a simulation. Well, a lot of scientists are saying now, are we living in the matrix? Are we living in some sort of a simulation? Which doesn't mean it's not real. It doesn't mean it doesn't matter. It just means we're not living in the ultimate level of
that's
reality.
right.
And
That's
and
right.
and I think Neo in the Matrix, it starts off with Neo just going, something's wrong, something's off. And if you say that to somebody right now, and again, even on any side of the political spectrum, they're going to say, yeah, there's something wrong, there's something off about this.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Grief doesn't follow stages, timelines, or rules. And if you've ever wondered, am I doing this right? You're not alone. That's why I created the Grief Check In. It's not a test, there are no right or wrong answers. It's simply a gentle way to understand how grief may be showing up for you right now. In just a few minutes, you'll gain clarity and language for what you're experiencing without judgment, labels, or pressure to move on. If you're wondering where you are in grief, this is a safe place to look. Go to grieftogrowth.com/check-in. That's grief, numeral 2, growth.com/check-in.
Yes. And I've seen it. I've been out of this matrix. I've seen the other layers. I have been there. I can't say
Mm,
physically, but vibrationally, I've been there and it feels physical. I've seen the control centers. I've seen the residential places where we live
mm,
on the other it was called Soul Exile 13. I've visited there. I've been to those places. I know this isn't the only place we are. And none of those were prison planets or anything like that.
yeah.
Was this one a prison planet? It's all by choice. And I know that to be true because spirit has taken me there. And when I am able to adjust my vibration, I can easily travel there to meetings and things like that. It's part of my job as an angel.
Hmm.
And I also want to say, let me rephrase that. Yes, it's part of my job as an angel, but I'm not special in that way. Any of us can go to those other parts of us,
Hmm.
those other fractals, because we are vibrational beings. And that's one of the things that we've forgotten how to do because we have told each other through doctrines and et cetera that we're not worthy enough to do that.
Yeah.
We're not smart enough, worthy enough. And that that is going to be one of the things we get to remember. That's part of the disclosure
Hmm.
coming up in the next few months. We'll remember not in an ego place, because we all have egos in this human body, and our egos were really designed to keep us safe,
Right.
to help us hunt and gather. And
Exactly.
some of these structures brought in the part of ego that made us compete against each other. Also, not wrong. Competing's not wrong.
Hmm.
But it got to the point where we became enemies with each other and the separateness came in. And we began to say to each other, oh, we are not worthy. And our egos are misbehaving now. So
Yeah.
our egos will begin to be friends with us again. There's so much healing that will happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and as we were talking about, and I don't want people to feel like you and I, because we're not saying this, that the world is just a terrible, terrible place, and all these bad things are happening. Because
No.
there are two things going on at one time. I see we are evolving. There is even though I talked about poverty. There's less poverty now than there has been. People are living longer. Medicine, science, even what's going on with the wars. At least now most people are standing up and saying this is wrong. We don't, this is not the way we conduct ourselves, right? So we have a couple of countries,
Yes.
ours included, who are being aggressors, and other people that was accepted in the past. And now we're saying that's not the way we want to do things. So I do see our consciousness rising as a humanity at the same time where these systems seem to be falling apart. And I think that's the revelation is when people are
Yes.
saying, this 3D thing that we've done, the competition, our egos are out of control. We've got to rebalance.
Yes. And Jesus coming back is likely our remembering that we are all the Christ consciousness.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, that we are God within. It likely is not Jesus returning on a chariot or on a cloud and judging people.
Hmm.
That is religious doctrine, and it is not that. It's not what I've been told in the meetings, not the visions I had as a child.
Hmm.
It's not Jesus returning in a human form. It's Jesus returning within us
Yeah.
and the remembering we have.
And for people who were raised like I was, and I remember as a child reading the book of Revelation and scaring myself to death.
Yes,
You
me
know,
too.
that was written. That was written metaphorically, and there's even a sect of Christianity, a big part of Christianity, that believe that that is past tense. That happened in the Roman Empire, like in 70 A.D. So Jesus didn't talk about, he never set himself up as a physical king. He kept saying, "My kingdom is not of this earth." I don't see Jesus coming back as a conquering warrior. And the other thing I
No,
want to say is the idea of the rapture came about like in the 1800s.
that's right.
And we were taught, oh, this is the way the Bible has always been read. It was the 1800s.
That's right. That's right. There's so much about the Bible that was written in to pull people in to the
Hmm.
church and also to control and to oppress, because the church also is a business model.
Yeah,
Dare I
absolutely.
say,
Yeah.
the church is a business model. And I know that from being a pastor for many years.
Yeah.
I know that side of it.
Well, it's also really interesting to me when you think about Jesus. I mean, who did he have problems with? He had problems with the religious people and the government, we see them now, especially in America, lining up together again. That's who
Yes.
murdered Jesus. It was basically the religious people because they wanted to control the people, and Jesus was trying to set people free.
Yes. And I'm glad that you used the word murdered, because when I have talked to Jesus and I've asked him about the crucifixion, he often uses that word, murdered. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and there have been many times when I've been in a Bible study and I hear people saying, well, God chose to give his son, or Jesus made the sacrifice. And it's not to go up on the cross or go up on the tree. I've not heard that from Jesus. I've heard Jesus say, no, this was a murder. I went through it.
Hmm.
This was a murder,
Yeah,
murdered by power.
yeah, that's why I use that word. It's
Yeah, it's
and
wise.
and I used to wear a cross, and I've been told by people that have spoken with Jesus, like Jesus does not really like crosses, right? This is his execution device.
Now, why would we
So
wear that?
yeah, we've got to, we so often I don't want to use the word celebrate, but we revere the physical destruction of his body, which is not what it was about.
Right.
Jesus, that's not his message. And again, for people that still are in that, I want to be gentle, but I came through that myself because when I was a child, I was taught God killed his son to save you, and that just never resonated with me.
No, it didn't with me either. And also, as a little one who could who could see Jesus in the room, growing up Catholic, we had Jesus on the cross with blood, and then I
Mm-hmm.
would be talking to Jesus who had jeans and a t-shirt on right next to me, and those two things didn't line up.
Yeah.
I knew Jesus as the man, as an uncle, as a friend, and sometimes as a father figure. And then when I would ask what God looked like, because there were years where I was confusing Jesus and God and
Yes.
trying to figure that out, right? As
Hmm.
many do. When I asked to see God, God looked like light, like the sunshine, and actually was not a decision maker and was just pure energy.
Hmm.
And in the Bible, God is talked about as a person, as a decision maker.
Right.
Um, and that took me a long time to figure out as well. And that's also something that I believe from what they're showing me is going to be worked out in our hearts and minds in the next decade or so. That one's going to take a while, because what it looks like is what many of us currently believe about God being kind of the father figure and
Hmm.
making decisions is going to be respected as part of our history. However, we're going to grow into knowing God more as an energy. And that's got to be a gentle shift.
Yeah.
And Jesus will be the conduit for that, as he was in the beginning.
Hmm.
That's one of the reasons he was there, to help us realize the capacity of God as really source, and not God as a religious rule book, or a change or a decision maker who would say, all right, now you have flooding and your crops will not grow over here, or you are sick until you make me happy. That's that's religious God. Or when I was little, my angels called it big God, small God.
Hmm.
Big God was the loving energy God.
Hmm.
And then small God was the religious God, is how they taught me. And
Yeah.
that'll also be something that we get to grow into gently, because it's one of those things that we will never be told to disrespect how we grew up on earth. It'll be
Hmm.
part of our history. And then as we're ready, we'll grow into the understanding that God is more than that. And when we began our religious life here on earth, we began that religious life because we needed to have a way to understand such a big love. So we began to write about it and have experiences about it. And then, like we said before, there's always some sort of dark that comes in, because that's who we are and that's earth. And that's when the part of religion that started to oppress and corrupt came in. And
Yeah.
that's the part that is not related to big source God, big God. That's the part that we're rewriting right now.
Yeah.
That's the part that's starting to go into politics, or is
Yeah.
going into politics.
Yeah, as you were saying, I was thinking about I don't remember the exact same, but something like God created man in his image and then man returned the favor, because we have taken all of the attributes of humanity and projected them on the God.
Yes,
So
that's right.
the idea that God needs payment, the idea that we can offend God, the idea that God, decides who's good and who's bad. It's like I call it the giant Santa Claus God.
Yes,
It's giant.
good.
God is a very angry Santa Claus. So
Yeah,
if you do good things, God will give you good stuff. If you don't do good things, then God's going to punish you.
right. And that's just not true, is it?
It doesn't make sense. It's like God's morality is not as high as humans. And when people talk to me about things like eternal hell, I'm like, so wait a minute. So I'm a finite human being. I was born in sin, not by my own choice. And by default, I'm going to be tortured eternally unless God kills Jesus. I'm like, that doesn't sound like a very
Yeah.
loving God. And when my daughter was born, I'll never forget when my daughter Kayla was born. I looked at her and I said, I could never hurt this child, let alone torment her eternally. And if God loves me more than I love her, then that's when it just fell apart for me. I was like, That's just impossible."
Yes, that makes sense to me. I also I made the choice to leave Catholicism when I had children too, because at that point I thought, okay, these rules that I've been questioning now, they really matter to me because I have children,
Yeah,
and I really want to understand God now, because now I have kids of my own, and
right.
I can really understand love at a different level because I have these beings that chose me.
Yeah. And some of the things we're saying, I know are going to sound like blasphemy to some people, that there is no big person God that you've been taught, or
Right.
that, we have source. We can turn within. But that's because we've been so indoctrinated to believe that we are nothing, or actually even worse than nothing, that we're repulsive to God, because God is
Hmm.
pure, and we're not. So this is going to take some deprogramming. People are going to have to
Yes.
understand. But I encourage people, go look at the words of Jesus. And you and I talked about this when we did our little preparation for this. We talked about Paul. That's
Yes.
most of the New Testament. So just when you're reading the New Testament, keep in mind that most of what you're reading was written by a man who never met Jesus.
Right. Right. He had meditations with Jesus. He channeled Jesus, and then after those channelings, he interpreted. And you know, I like Paul. I do. I like Paul. He's just a cool dude. I really do. Paul's a really good example of when you talk to Jesus and then you stop listening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We all do that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really into a lot of things that Paul said until it's like First Corinthians, and he started to, is it First Corinthians when it's like the women have to be separate from the men?
It's one of those letters. I get them all confused, but it was one of the
Yeah.
letters he wrote to the
And that
church.
women can't preach.
Yeah, yeah,
And it didn't even strike me down as that because I'm a woman and I can't do that. It didn't even hit me in that place. It was more that, wait a minute, as souls, we're all equal. And then I asked Jesus about it and I said, is that coming from you? And he said, I didn't say that. And I thought, okay, well, I'm not mad at Paul for that because we can all get a little bit off, when we're trying to hear the message. I get that. But what I saw into that was as Paul was writing, listening to God, listening to Jesus and writing, he was getting a lot of influx from what was going on at the world at that time and was
absolutely.
trying to write from a safe place. And I don't blame him at all. But a lot of his writings actually got changed. Some of his original writings that I was able to see in my mind are
Hmm.
not the writings we see. Some of
Hmm.
it got edited.
Yeah. My take on Paul is I think Paul's a good guy. I think
Yeah.
he had definitely good intentions. The couple things. One is when we read uh, Corinthians and Thessalonians and all the other books, he's writing to particular churches at a particular time. He's writing letters.
Yes.
And I tell people if Billy Graham was writing a letter to a church and you found it 1,000 years later, you wouldn't call it scripture. You would say it was a letter that he was writing to a church. So
To
some of these
support
churches,
them.
yeah, some of these churches did have issues. And maybe some of the women were speaking, in the church and didn't know what they're
Yeah,
talking
they were
about.
doing too much.
Right.
Because
So,
that particular group of women could have been like, we've all met a group of people who are like, okay, too less, please.
yeah, yeah.
Too much. And maybe the men needed to speak up a little bit. They needed their masculinity back. We don't know.
Right. But and so I guess my thing is once I start learning something about Bible history, I'm like, okay, this is what Paul wrote to the Thessalonians, and it is also a cultural thing. It was the culture at the
Yes.
time. But Paul also wrote that in Christ there's no male or female. So if you're going to
Yes.
take these two things and reconcile them, if you're going to make scripture, I think there is no male nor female trumps, what's happening in the Thessalonian church or the church at Thessalonica.
That's exactly right. And that's why I saw that some of his writings were edited or kind of lifted above some other writings just to make a point where a point needed to be made.
Right.
And I don't see Paul agreeing with some of that. He's like, wait, that's not what I meant.
Yeah.
That was just for these guys. It wasn't supposed to be in the book. Why did it make it in the book? That was just a letter.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, and this is what we were talking about earlier when it comes to religion, they've taken some of these things and they use them to this day to justify the fact that women can't be priests. The fact that
Yes.
they've used it to justify slavery, et cetera. So
Yes.
again, you and I, we're in agreement. We're not against religion, but
No.
there has been a corruption, just like we're not against government, but there's been corruption in our government.
Yes. And how do we get back to the truth of it with and also respect what's there because
Right.
that's our history.
Right.
And the answer I get back from Jesus and from the helpers there, from the angels, and honestly, Paul, because when I prepared for this meeting with you, I sat down with Paul a lot, and he's just delightful,
Hmm.
long-winded,
Yeah. Yeah.
delightful.
Yeah.
Their answer was go within, that be brave, for they want people to be brave enough to sit by themselves and ask themselves the answers, and then go to their pastors, go to their friends, go to their uncles, their mothers, their fathers, because they said when we go to other people first, that's not our idea.
Hmm.
And our idea can come directly from God.
Hmm.
because we are connected. But when we first go to an external source, that's like going to a book or something. And those tools are wonderful, but they should be secondary.
I
We're
love
supposed
that.
to sit alone first.
I love that. And it reminds me of what Jesus said, call no man father, right?
Yeah.
Don't go to another man. You have one father, go to source. And the thing is, I love to read. I read books and stuff because to me it validates what I already know. It's not like it's even new information. It's more like a remembering. So I
Yeah.
love what you just said, like, and turn within first, right?
Yes.
And then you can use external sources to validate that.
Yes. And to stretch yourself. And then you come back to you have these two sources. You have where God takes you to, okay, who are my, and there are no gurus in the world. No one. We're all equals. God will lead you to those people to have those conversations. And
Hmm.
then you have your conversation with God, just the two of you. Keep going back and forth
Yeah. Yeah.
to build your understanding.
Yeah. It's interesting because my friend Kelvin Chin, I mentioned to you before that I've worked with Kelvin a lot. He's my mentor, really. And he talks about, turning within and finding, things out for yourself and testing things. And again, it kind of echoes what Jesus said. So I encourage people, as we're talking, if this is confusing to you or you think, whatever, just go reread what Jesus said and really try to read it with fresh eyes.
Yes. I also want to say to the people who are hearing this and they're saying, oh, but I can't get my mind to go quiet. How do I do that?
Hmm.
Well, you have the perfect mind to do this because you're already presenting the landscape or the painter's palette
Hmm.
to have these conversations with Jesus or whoever you call in. Because if you're talking to source, if you're talking to God, then you can do that by saying, okay, source, if I would like to talk to you through Jesus, or
Hmm.
I'd like to talk to you through Archangel Michael, but know who you're talking to.
Hmm.
Well, if your mind is busy, then prepare a cue to go back to the conversation. So let's create an example.
Hmm.
This is how my brain works.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting having what I think is a grown-up conversation with Jesus, and we're going along, and then all of a sudden I remember, oh, I need to buy bread. Oh, then I need to buy bread. What's for dinner? Okay, and so I'll say, back to Jesus, back to Jesus.
Hmm.
That's mine, or back to the conversation. So if you prepare something that'll just get you, because what you're doing is you're going back to the vibration, just like if you were on a phone call and you got another call coming in,
Yeah.
and you would just hit the button that takes you back.
Hmm.
Do that. You're just going back to the vibration, back to Jesus, because our brains are made to multitask. So we don't have to overthink it. Just find your mantra or your phrase that takes you back to
Yeah.
the conversation, back to Jesus.
Yeah. Well, that's a really great description of meditation, because people think it's like blocking all this stuff and getting, but as you said, you have this conversation and our minds do, they get distracted. They're so fast and they're designed to keep us safe. And we have to really understand our brains and our ego and all that stuff. But we can keep coming back. We can keep turning back to that
Yes.
conversation and trusting what feels right to you. So for
Yeah.
anybody who's still with us, because this is a wild conversation, what should we be doing to prepare ourselves? What should we be ready for? Is there something we can do?
Yes. Great question. So to spiritually prepare, I have not been told that we are in danger. I have been told that as long as we remember that we are connected to source and that everything we need is within us, we're good. And there will be a moment for everyone where we're looking outside at what's going on, literally outside looking at what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll have a choice. Go this way with what we're being shown or go within.
Mm.
Remember to go within. No
Mm.
matter what the temptation is, go within. And in that moment, we don't have to be the heroes and call everybody else. No, go with me, go with me. It's a choice for everyone to make on their own. So the other thing that I want to tell people is we will experience what people are calling the 3 days of darkness, that's coming up as well. And it's from a physical place where we're going to lose power. But that 3 days of darkness is designed to help us go within. It's to give us a reset. So prepare for that with some water that you have set aside, some food that you have set aside. Make sure you have enough for your pets, things like that. And honestly, if you live in a place where the crime rate is high, you have a house or apartment on the first level, you might think about how to lock your windows, how to be safe for those days. Because when people are scared, they spiral and they make decisions that are not great.
Mm-hmm.
So think about those things. But the angels don't show me a lot of crime happening. It's literally a 3-day reset and the world goes dark. The sky looks a little dark. And then it goes back on.
Mm-hmm.
When it goes back on, we restart, and things are not easy at that point because we are restructuring ourselves, but we get through it. So to prepare for those things, prepare physically and emotionally or mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the best ways to do that is really love where you are right now, be present in the moment, and not think so much about, gosh, when it happens, because this is not the second coming of Christ for judgment. This is not the end of the world. It's quite the opposite.
Yeah.
And remember that history repeats itself. And every time something big happens, we get through it.
Yeah.
This is just something that we haven't been through before, but we've been through big things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to kind of confirm or corroborate some of what you're saying, because I was listening to Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar earlier, and he was talking about, he describes it as the adults coming into the room. So, and we've seen, and the government's disclosed some of this, we've seen, we call extraterrestrials or aliens. There have been times when they've shut down our missile, programs and stuff. So
Yes.
I don't think we have to worry about nuclear annihilation,
No.
because I don't think they're going to let that happen.
No, they aren't. They aren't. We'll get close to that. But when our governments pull that into the news, it's to quiet us as a population and to make us fear, but we won't be close to that. And if it gets really close or it's about to happen, we are in agreement. Our world, Earth, is in agreement with the other galactic councils. This sounds like Star Trek stuff, right?
Yeah.
But we are in agreement with the other galactic councils that we help each other. So we actually have ways to help them as well. They will help us. So if something nuclear happens that would abolish our population or our Earth, that's when they step in. So that won't happen.
Yeah. So, for we kind of talked about, like, okay, so how we can prepare spiritually, maybe prepare a little physically, because I have another friend who's a medium. She's intuitive, and she was like, Brian, something's coming, be prepared. And I was like, what do I do to prepare? What do you mean? Because I'm not really a prepper, so
Yeah, not either.
yeah. So I'm not going to go to Costco and buy 2 years worth of food or something, but
No, not
but
needed.
I do shop at Costco, so there's a lot of food in my house. I'd be my daughter teases me, you'd be okay for 3 months, so I'm good on that. I might need to get some more water, but yeah, I love this conversation, and thank you for doing this, Rachel, because I think it's really important for people to understand what's going on around us, and I think people are very confused, and we've had these kind of two sources, kind of polar opposites, really taking away our power. The materialists, who say that you're nothing but a biological being who's here accidentally. There is no spirit. Consciousness is an illusion. So just live and then die, and it's all over. And then we've had the religious people who have also told us we're worthless, but from a different perspective. And I see this as kind of like us as a species kind of growing up and getting our power back. And every episode I offer, I say I think it's really important to understand who we are, where we came from, where we're going, and why we're here. And those are the four questions that many of us can't answer. We're very confused about those, and that's why we feel so without an anchor, right? So what you're sharing today is like, It's kind of like, okay, this is who you are, and this is why you're here, and this is where it answers all those questions.
Right. Basically, we're in a war of consciousness.
Mm,
And what we're fighting is the parts of us that have been told that we are not worthy.
yeah, yeah,
And those parts of us are showing up as other people, granted. So we, we're arguing a lot. We're
yeah.
coming back to remember that we are God within, and we are all connected to each other. And once we remember that, gradually or all at once, that doesn't matter. But for each soul that remembers that, we are formed like layers of an onion, someone told me the other day. Brilliant.
Mm,
So whatever layer we're on, that layer folds back in and we create the next layer because we are infinite beings. But the
hmm.
next layer has more knowledge to it. And that onion layer very much is like a computer coding layer. It is holographic, but
Hmm.
it's so beautifully made. It feels, it's haptic. It feels material.
Hmm.
The next one will be a blend of both haptic feedback, material, and also we'll be aware of all of the other onion layers. And we'll be aware of what's above or around, which is our source nature. That's what we're moving towards. Some people call it the 5D.
Hmm.
We're already there. We've been there. It's just that we don't realize it yet because of the unworthiness concept.
Yeah, and I read a little article about that the other day, 3D, 4D, 5D, because I keep hearing
Mhm.
5D, and the way I interpret it is like 3D is that we're stuck in the physical. We're
Yeah.
the competitive nature, the ego, the zero sum game. 4D, I think, is where we start to get uncomfortable with that, and we start to make the shift, and we realize this is not right. This is not it. And then 5D is when we start living as if we are spirit beings. I don't think it means that we literally are going to go live on the astral plane, but it's the shift in consciousness that's going to
Mhm.
happen where we're going to live the way I think we were intended to live.
Yes, correct. We'll have some physical changes, I think, because our vibration will change.
Yeah.
Our vibration will change. We'll be able to self heal more.
Yes. Yes.
We'll eat differently. We'll behave differently. Yes, but I don't think that I think we're relocating or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, and that goes to the fact that the physical is a reflection of the spiritual. So
Yes.
as we heal the spiritual, we'll also heal the physical. I'm
Yes.
reading a book right now called Mind Body. It's not, I forget exactly the title, but it's about the mind body connection. And her point is like it's not a mind and a body; it's a mind body. And
Hmm.
so what we think of ourselves as bodies that have a soul. And even when we were in Sunday school, we were told you have a soul. It's really you are a soul. You're a soul that
Yeah,
has a body. It's we have it backwards. It's not bottom up, it's top down.
that's right. That's right. I would encourage anyone listening to start talking to their body and see how the body adjusts.
Mm,
Because, you can start talking to your body and saying, I love you so, so much. I'm so proud of you. And also, I would really like it if maybe you say, when I do it, sometimes I'll say, I would really like it if, right hip, I don't need you to put so much pressure on yourself. I don't want to feel you so much when I'm sleeping.
mm,
I like
mm,
a little weight to come off that part of my belly.
mm,
I know you can. Or if I'm eating too much cake, I'll say, okay, well, I'm going to really enjoy this cake, but I don't need it to stay on my body. Just go on through.
mm. Yeah, I love that. I love that exercise. Yeah.
Why not? I mean, our body is part of our spirit and we are in this hologram. It works.
Yeah, yeah. I truly believe that, and it's not just. I mean, there's science behind it. This book I'm reading right now
Yes.
is brilliant. I mean, she's talking about, we talk about the placebo effect, and we all know there's a placebo effect. Every drug company has to acknowledge it. They have to test their drugs against placebo, and so people will say, well, it's just your mind doing that. It's just your mind that healed you. It's like, no, it's actually your mind healed you, right? So
Yes.
you take a pill that has no drug in it and you're healed. Or they've done sham what they call sham surgeries They'll take somebody, cut their knee open, and pretend they did surgery, but they won't do anything to their knee, and then they're pain free. So
Yeah.
we do have this ability to heal ourselves. And again, it's been for people that need things validated by science. It's been validated by science.
Yes. Our brain is so powerful.
Yeah. So yeah. So do that. I concur with that. Talk to your body and tell your body what you want from it, and stop treating our bodies like it's our enemy. I guess in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And so what if we started that same talk with I am worthy. I am
Hmm.
worthy of healing. I am worthy of being source inside. I am part of source.
Yeah. Yeah.
We started that talk as well. And then we have that whole mind, body, spirit connection rolling with us as we live and breathe. It's a game changer.
Absolutely. Well, we're coming to the end of our time. It's gone so fast. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Me
Thank you
too.
for sharing this and putting it out there. I'm not going. I was going to say, I hope it helps someone. I know it's going to help people. And if you're not convinced right now as you're going through this, that's okay. But remember this conversation as things go forward.
Yes. Yeah, we're not here to convert or convince anyone. We're just sharing a message. I'm just sharing a message with
Hmm.
love in my heart, with grace. It's my job.
Yeah.
And I'm here praying for everyone daily, and it is what it is. So I thank you so much for spending this time with me.
Yeah. So, Rachel, if people want to connect with you, can they do that?
Yeah, sure. I have a website. It's my name, rachelcorpus.com. And you can also check out my podcast. I have a show starting on May 18th on the BBS network called Ask the Angel.
Mm.
So I'll put that on my website, and
Yeah.
people can, it's a call in show, so you can call and ask questions.
Awesome. Yeah.
We'll have lots of conversations like this, lighthearted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, it's Rachel, Corpus, just like it sounds. So, Rachel, again, thank you so much for being here today. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you. You as well. Blessings.
Grief doesn't follow stages, timelines, or rules. If you've ever wondered, am I doing this right? You're not alone. That's why I created the Grief Check In. It's not a test, there are no right or wrong answers. It's simply a gentle way to understand how grief may be showing up for you right now. In just a few minutes, you'll gain clarity and language for your experience without judgment, labels, or pressure to move on. If you're wondering where you are in grief, this is a safe place to find out. Go to grieftogrowth.com/check-in. That's grief, the numeral 2, growth.com/check-in.